the border was never quiet. Not in the dead of night, when the Rio Grande whispered secrets through the dark. Not when hoofbeats echoed across dry earth, not when men and women enslaved, dispossessed, hunted chose to fight rather than disappear. This was a land where empires clashed, but it was also where the oppressed slaves refused to stay silent. Welcome to Historic Crimes TV, where you get the true story of events that have happened in the past which helped shape the history of the world that we are living in. If you enjoy our video, encourage us to post more by liking the video, comment where you are watching from, share it with someone and make sure to subscribe for more. In the early 1800s, the region we now call Texas was a volatile frontier, claimed first by Spain, then by Mexico, and increasingly encroached upon by settlers from the United States. But beneath these political struggles was something deeper: slavery. While Mexico outlawed slavery in 1829, Anglo-American settlers in Texas resisted fiercely. Enslaved Africans saw something their captors feared. Freedom was just across the border. Plantations spread across eastern Texas, but they were fragile outposts, isolated, undermanned, and surrounded by vast wilderness. At night, whispers traveled faster than the wind. Enslaved people began to organize. Secret meetings in wooded groves. Escape routes mapped by memory and stars. Alliances with native tribes and Mexican communities. Some fled south toward Mexico. Others chose a different path. They would not run. They would rise. Small rebel groups began forming, what slaveholders called runaway bands, but what history would recognize as freedom fighters. They struck suddenly, burning supply wagons, raiding ranches, and freeing enslaved people from isolated farms. These groups moved like shadows across the borderlands, never staying long, never fighting fair, and never surrendering. Some found refuge among indigenous nations like the Comanche, who themselves resisted colonial control. Others crossed into Mexico, where slavery was illegal and communities sometimes offered protection. The Rio Grande became more than a river. It became a lifeline. Rebels used it as a guide through the wilderness, a crossing point into freedom, and a strategic barrier against pursuit. Slave catchers and militias patrolled constantly, but the terrain favored those who knew it best. And the rebels knew every inch. By the 1830s and 1840s, tensions exploded into open violence. Armed patrols, Texas Rangers, militias, and posses were formed to hunt down rebels and runaway groups. But these forces often found themselves outmaneuvered. Ambushes became common. Patrols lured into dense brush. Horses stolen in the night, and entire camps disappearing before dawn. In response, authorities escalated brutality. Public executions, burned settlements and collective punishment against suspected allies. But instead of crushing resistance, it spread. The chaos of larger conflicts like the Texas Revolution gave borderland rebels new opportunities. While armies fought for control of Texas, enslaved people seized the moment. Escaping en masse, joining rebel bands and sabotaging supply lines. Freedom was no longer a distant dream. It was happening, piece by piece. These revolts were never unified under a single leader or banner. There was no official declaration. But make no mistake. This was war. A hidden war fought in swamps and scrublands, river crossings and remote ranches, midnight raids and silent escapes. A war where survival itself was victory. A small group stands at the edge of the Rio Grande at dawn. Behind them is smoke rising from a raid in the night. Ahead of them is Mexico, and the possibility of freedom. No chains that no masters, just the uncertain promise of a new life. They step into the water. And they do not look back until they become free.